Hello guys, Insane Gorilla again, and welcome back to What If Deku Was a Spartan. And where we last left off, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka just met and escorted to safety Momo Yaoyorozu, and revealing to her bodyguards that they are both Spartans. Because I forgot to say, underneath the Sierra 123 and 124 was the word Spartans. And High Council do know of the Spartans and have actually seen them in combat. And they know not to mess with them. So if they ever see a badge with Sierra 149 or something like that, even down to 1117, aka Spartan Master Chief, they know to give all Spartans the respect they deserve. The one on the right is actually Deku's armor. Just remember, he has the blue bits and pieces. And on the left is actually Ochako Uraraka. She has the armor of the ODSTs, or the ODSTs. Orbital Drop Shock Troopers. Now, going back to the story, they just gave Momo Yaoyorozu back to her bodyguards, and as I said, they both pulled out a badge, or an identification badge, saying that they are Spartans. Momo not really picking up on this, because she was walking past them as they were pulling out their cards. So they just gave their farewells and left. Out of 10 months of training, these two were sparring hand-to-hand combat. But they decide to go off to find somewhere secluded, and they find Dagobah Beach. And decide to remove all the trash and do a bit of combat tests, like hand-to-hand ones, while they're there. Eventually, All Might turns up with his successor. I'm gonna say is Kirishima. Kirishima sees these two along with All Might as they move rubble, but also do some combat tests. And Kirishima says, "Whoa, that is manly." As All Might says to him, "These two must have got here first, but they're moving stuff while having combat tests." Very interesting. As Deku gets the upper hand of Uraraka, picks her up from the waist, and slams her into the ground by leaning backwards. Uraraka quickly pinging up from this, saying that was a dirty trick or a dirty move. Deku just said, "Hey, the enemy won't play fair, neither will I." As Uraraka says, "Fine, I won't play fair either," as she gets Deku onto the offensive. All Might being All Might just watches them for a bit, along with Kirishima, as Kirishima's mouth drops to the floor and his eyes do the anime thing where they literally pop out as he sees how fast these two are going. as Uraraka gets a few very well placed hits on Deku. As Deku says, take this, as he gets a smack in the guts, as she falls to the floor, coughing. As he says, as All Might jumps in and punches Deku, sending Deku into a pile of garbage they had on the side. As All Might says, that is enough. Well, no, that is enough. He just punches and says, "Are you alright?" As Uraraka gets up and says, "Yeah, he just winded me. That was a good punch. I've got to admit, that was a good punch." And she just quickly stands up as if nothing happened and just dusts herself off. Kirishima is still standing there with, as I said earlier, as Deku gets up and walks out of the little rubbish pile that All Might punched him into. As he then says, because he doesn't know who All Might is at this point, he then says, "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't think that you should have done that. Considering me and her weren't fighting, we were training." All Might hearing that saying, "Oh, sorry, I apologise, I thought you two were having a full out fight." All Might's dumb in this a bit. As Deku just says, "No, we train like this anyway." As All Might reaches out a hand, saying, "I apologise, please forgive me." As Deku reaches out his own and gives him a handshake. All Might turning his hand above his and seeing the scars. Saying, "Where did you get these scars from?" Deku just says, "I got these quite some time ago. Doc said they could get rid of them if I wanted them to, but I decided to keep them as a reminder." And All Might says, "Oh, reminder of what?" As Deku says that there are always bad people out there in the world or in the galaxy. As All Might nods his head in agreement. As Uraraka says, "I think we better get going so these people can use the beach." As Deku agrees, and they leave. All Might saying, "You two have strong quirks. Will you be going to UA?" As Izuku Midoriya and Uraraka Otako turn around and say, "We're going to be teaching assistants at UA." As All Might says, "Oh." And Kirishima is saying these two are manly, even though one of them's a woman. As he walks down and asks Izuku Midoriya for a sparring match. All Might says, "Kirishima, we need to train first to get your body toughened up." As Ochaku Uraka and Izuku Midoriya say, "Sorry, kid, but we have to get going," as they walk off. That's the last All Might and Kirishima saw them. After 10 months have passed, Ochaku Uraka and Izuku Midoriya walk up to UA as Principal Nezu comes out to greet them and gives them green badges so they can get through. as they see, well, as they go around UA, getting given the tour. Now, everything happens in canon like it does in canon, except Izuku and Ochako aren't there. Remember from the last video, they're literally 20. Both of them are 20 years old. As the written exam goes on, Momo gets first place, followed by Todoroki, then Bakugo. The the combat test. Jesus Christ, the cough again. The combat test goes as the same in canon, minus Ochako and Midoriya. As the first day of UA starts, everybody's in the class talking. Aizawa gets out of his sleeping bag saying, "My name is Shoto Aizawa, and I am your homeroom teacher." And before we start, we have two new people in today. As he says, you two can come in. As Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka will, well, just walk in. And I failed to mention this. During the walk, well, during when Ochako and Midoriya were walking back home, they bumped into three people. One going by the name of Hasashi Midoriya and Inko Midoriya. And they had a little girl called Izumi Midoriya. Izumi has fire manipulation and a telekinesis quirk. Basically, she's a bit like Todoroki, but minus the scar on the side. As they just walk past them, as Deku overheard Izumi saying, "I wonder where Big Brother's gone. He's been missing for 15 years now. So when I become a hero, when I go into UA High, I am going to dedicate my time into trying to find him, no matter who it is." Now, if you don't know, if you wonder why I've added Izuku's family in, let's just say I only told him that they died in a car accident, but they haven't. It was all because Deku was quirkless, and they didn't really. Well, Hisashi didn't want him, but Inko did. But yeah, he got taken by Oni. Anyway, as Aizawa says, these two are Ochako Uraraka and Izuku Midoriya. As the Izuku Midoriya part left Aizawa's lips, Izumi stands up and says, "That's the name of my big brother who went missing 15 years ago." Everybody sort of is confused because they don't know that Izumi had a brother, and Ochako Uraraka just stands there along with Deku, looking at each other. As Deku just gives the phrase with body language saying, "Don't look at me, I have no idea that I even had a sister." As she runs up to him and hugs him, which catches even Aizawa off guard. Catches Doria and Ochako also off guard, along with the entire class. Momo stands up and says, "Those two are the ones who saved me from two thugs who were forcing themselves upon me." As Deku says, "Hello, Miss Yalorozu," as he then says, "Izumi Midoriya, get off." As she just says, "No, I've missed you for so long," as he eventually forces her off, saying, "I don't know you. Don't come up hugging a member of staff. It is against school rules." As she says, "But," as he then says, "No buts," in a very loud voice. "Go back and sit down right now." As she goes back to her chair and places her head on the table and sobs a bit as they do the quirk apprehension test, and Izumi does get infinity like Uraraka does, and the same thing goes as normal. Next day passes and All Might walks in. As he walks in saying, "I am here, walking through the door like a regular hero," as everybody sort of freaks out that it's All Might. So, apart from Izumi, who looks over at her brother, saying to herself, "Why doesn't he remember me? I know I was only a few weeks old when he first saw me, from what our parents said. Well, from what Mum said, Dad said he just doesn't care about his own son because he was quirkless." As Azumi says, doesn't forgive her father for what he said because she's actually nice in this. She's really nice. She wants to get to know her brother again. She actually wants to get him back. As they go to testing ground Bay, Bay 3, or testing grounds 3, or testing ground B, sorry, as they all get split into teams. Bakugo versus Izumi, and I'm going to say Deku this time because there weren't any people who were willing to go with Izumi. Oh yeah, and the reason why Izumi is here because Mineta got kicked out. Yeah, he was still caught perving, but Deku walked in right at the right time to catch him and literally smacked him in the head, which causes him to scream out in pain, saying, "Ow, ow, 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 that hurt." As he looks over and says, "What was that for?" As Deku is just there cracking his knuckles, saying, "Perving on looking into the girls' lockers. Bad move. You've just ended your chances of even being a hero, as Mineta tries to beg him not to kick him out, as Midori just says, too late. UA doesn't need a pervert to ruin its reputation of being the best hero school. As he literally takes him to the principal office and says, we need to expel him because I just caught him peeping into the girls' changing rooms, and I don't want this pervert to ruin UA's perfect record. As he eventually gets told by Principal Nezu that I will let every other hero school know that you are perverted and they will not let you in. So goodbye. Guys, I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. A phone call came through, as you must have already heard. Anyway, as I was saying, with the combat tests, Izumi was put up with her big brother, who bombards him as she bombards him with questions like, where have you been? What have you been doing? How did you get all these scars? As Deku just then fully turns around, telling her, Izumi Midoriya, shut up. You're getting on my nerves at the minute, and if I need to, I will send you home without proper reasoning why. I've already sent one student home because they were a pervert. I can send another one home for not listening to instructions. And she has tears in her eyes, saying, but why? My brother would never do this to me. After all, I was only a few weeks old when he first saw me. As Deku says, do I look like your brother? Do I act like your brother? And she then runs off, crying. As he calls in for All Might, saying, put her in the observation room and let me deal with this on my own, as if I was an actual hero. As Izumi then runs in as Momomate Yadorozu grabs hold of her and says down the mic, that was a harsh thing for you to do. She is your sister. As Deku just says, don't you start listening to that as well. As Uraraka looks at Izumi, saying, I'm sorry about his attitude. As Izumi sort of says, why is he doing this? As Uraraka sneaks off to make a call. As All Might says, begin. Bakugo is a Bakugo. He's not mad in this one, he's just really, really sad because he remembers who Deku is. Because their friendship still was a thing, even though Bakugo was young still. Deku was around about 5 and he was around about 1. So they played with each other a little bit. Just a very little bit. Not very much. But he still has good memories of him. As he rushes down, telling once again Ida to protect the bomb. He has to go and do something. As Ida says, okay, but we need to. And he's gone. As he blasts his way down to Deku, who just is now on the second floor, moving around as if this was a casual search and destroy mission. He looked thoroughly through things as he eventually saw Bakugo blast around the corner, saying, "Izuku Midoriya." As he says, "What? You got something to say to me?" As he says, "Where the hell have you been for the last for most of the years of my life? Not only that, I grew up alongside Izumi Midoriya, and she does nothing but talk about you, about how much she wants to try and find you, to try and get to know you, and when she finally finds you, you treat her like absolute shit. Where's the person who used to care for people?" Is Izuku Midoriya just gets into a fighting stance, saying this is a combat test, not an idle chit-chat test. Now shut up and fight. But with your weak bones, you won't last 5 minutes against me. As Bakugo says, "Fine, I'll beat you, but after I beat you, you're going to apologize to your sister and get to know her." As Deku says, "For the last time, I do not have a sister." As Bakugo does the same thing in canon, pulling out a pin, saying this is gonna hurt, but this will defeat you. As All Might says, "Don't do it, Bakugo, you'll kill him." As he also says, this is only to defeat him, so when I defeat him, he will apologize to his sister. As Bakugo fires it, Deku just literally lies on the floor as the explosion goes over his head and gets back up and full on throttles Bakugo, knocking him out. As he puts the capture tape over Bakugo's nose, as All Might says, Kotsuki Bakugo has been captured. As he just sort of freaks out, saying, "Oh Christ, Bakugo's been captured." As All Might says, "Izuku Midoriya, one target remains, one villain remains, along with the bomb. You've just taken out Bakugo on your own. I have no doubt you'll be able to do it on your own as well." As he just says, "Jesus, if he's taking out Bakugo, then I am in big trouble. But he can't match my speed." Which Ida does not know that Midoriya can keep up with his speed, if not go a bit faster than him. As Deku comes up to the last door where the bomb is with Ida, he literally feels around it just in case there's any booby traps that he can feel, which there isn't. As he just stands properly up, and breaches it with his foot. As he full on kicks it as the door comes flying off of its hinges into the room and embeds itself in the wall. This freaking out Ida handedly, as he's just seen a door come flying off and embed itself in a wall. As he says, what the hell of a quirk do you have? Not even a strength enhancement quirk can do that to a door." As Deku walked in, saying, That's because it's not a quirk. That's just my pure strength. Without it. As Ida is rightly scared, saying, actually is shaking, saying, right, let's see if I can actually take you down, hero. With his facade breaking apart, and his body is not actually moving when he's telling it to, as he says, "Damn it, move, move!" As Deku sort of does a sarcastic thing or speech, saying, "You smell that? It's fear. Fear is the same thing that holds you to the ground due to the weight of it. Fear is a powerful motivator for others. Don't let your fear control you." Oh, wait. It just did. As he walks past Ida, touching the bomb, saying, then All Might says, "Hero teams win." As Azumi is still crying, but she saw Izuku was virtually like a monster. He took on Bakugo by himself, then took on Ida, but she also noticed that Ida wasn't even moving, and Izuku was not hitting him. He was standing there as if he was frozen. So when Tsuki Midoriya walked out, before he walked out, he sort of tapped Ida on the shoulder as Ida sort of jumps and sort of screams like a little bitch, which catches everybody off guard, including Izumi, who kind of stops crying at the time. As a message comes through to All Might saying, "Izuku Midoriya, there's 2 people here to see you. Head immediately to the principal's office," as he walks off. And when he gets to the principal's office, he sees Ochako Uraraka and a well, and he sees Dr. Catherine Halsey as Principal Nezu is sort of having a casual conversation with her with a cup of tea. As Dr. Halsey looks to her right, saying, "Midoriya," as she says, "Get in here, please." As he says, "Yes, ma'am," which catches Principal Nezu's attention. As hang on a minute, I'll be back again. And I am back. Sorry about that. As I was saying, as Deku says yes man, it catches Principal Nezu's attention. As he says, "So, Dr. Halsey, you know these 2 personally?" As she says, "Yes. That is Izuku Midoriya, and this is Ochako Uraraka. Izuku Midoriya lived on Reach for a little while, then came to Earth. Then his parents met a tragic accident." And Principal Nezu then says, but his parents didn't meet a tragic accident. They are both here on, well, here on Earth. And the parents of Izuku Midoriya have been searching for their son for some time. Well, one of them, anyway. As Izuku Midoriya scoffs, saying I don't have any parents anymore. As, well, Dr. Halsey says, you do have parents, Deku, or Izuku Midoriya. When the accident happens, it turns out both of them were actually sent to the hospital. But by the time we found that out, you were already a fully grown adult, keeping the secret that Dr. Halsey was still keeping it a secret that he and Uraraka were both Spartans. As she says, anyway, this gig is over for a bit. I need you guys back for a mission as my ODSDs or ODSTs, which Principal Nezu says, so these two work for you, as she says, yes, they are ODSTs of Oni's branch, of the branch of the military run by Oni. These two are one of our top drop shock troopers. They argue most of the time like husband and wife, but hey, you can't have everybody. As Principal Densu says, no, you cannot. Take these two, because I need them for the school. As Dr. Halsey says, I can and I will. This is a naval Office of Naval Intelligence unit. We can take them whenever we need. As she says, go. We're going. As Uraraka and Deku both say, yes ma'am, or yes ma'am. As she passes them some stuff, saying, go and slip these on in the changing rooms quickly, which turns out to be their Spartan jumpsuits that have a t-shirt that says, well, t-shirt and trousers, and a t-shirt that says Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, which when they both get changed, this is where Bakugo, Ida, and the rest walk in to see ODST logo and Izuku Midoriya as their jaws drop, saying, how the hell are you an ODST? As Deku says, that's classified. And the same goes for Uraraka. She also says it's classified, as their attitudes completely change. And it scares a lot of people. So, Izumi actually talks to Principal Nezu, who still has a certain Dr. Halsey with her. As Deku and Uraraka walk in, saying, ready ma'am when you are. As Izumi walks up, looks over, then looks away. As Dr. Halsey says, I hear that you are not playing nice with your fellow family members, Izuku Midoriya. As he says, the military is my family now. As Izumi then has a go at him again, saying yada yada yada. As Deku just says, stop back chatting people. As all three of them walk off. Principal Nezu saying, I'm sorry, but it is his decision. He most probably has zero recollection of you guys. As Izumi says, if it wasn't for my father trying to get rid of him when I was born, perhaps this would have never have happened. As Principal Nezu is still smart, saying it most probably would have happened anyway. Do you want to know who that lady was? As she shakes her head, saying, no, I don't want to know who she was, because I could already gather that she was from the UNSC, one of the higher branches of it. Anyway, as Nezu says, she was off the Office of Naval Intelligence. Her name was Catherine Halsey, and those two are ODSDs, hence why their attitudes have suddenly changed from a, as they call it, standard to a full-on military standard. As eventually they get to the, Deku, Uraraka, and Halsey get to the Pelican, which has a few Spartans in it. One of them shouts, God damn it, Simmons, I told you not to mess around with my helmet. As a guy in yellow snatches his helmet, saying this is not a time for monkeying around with things. As, well, as Simmons says, shut up, Griff. As another guy, as one guy in red said, Simmons, Griff, shut it. Halsey's here. As they say, yes, Sarge. Then they turn around and shouting, hey, Blues, you gonna get up or not? Dogger says, no, I'm too busy talking to women. Bow wow. As Church slaps him around the head, saying, shut up. Along with Caboose, who's not dumb, he's actually, says, Church, Halsey's here. As the Spartans walk to their seats and sit down. This is where Halsey says, you lot are a nightmare. As they all head off into space, and Tucker tries to actually hit, like he usually does, hit on Uraraka, who just laughs at him and says, you are a very bad pickup. You are very bad at trying to pick up girls with a punchline. And I'm not into you. At all. As Deku just laughs, saying she's got you there. As they finally get to the station, as Uraraka and Midoriya get off and walk to one part of the station, as the Reds and Blues get told to follow Halsey because they're going to see some action with two other Spartans. As she then shouts to, not shouts, taps into communications on Deku and Uraraka's Spartan units, saying, right, your names have been removed from all records of you even entering UA. You are now back to being Sierra 123 and 124, otherwise known as Titan and Wraith. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, Titan is Deku and Wraith is Uraraka. As they walk out of where they get their armor on, they walk out to the reds and blues. You just see a guy with a chain gun and a girl with an assault rifle and a shotty. As they all say, wow, those two are scary. Well, the big guy is scary. That one just looks, well, looks like a normal Spartan. As they see a few more people, and one of them is actually Carolina. Carolina walks up to Titan, tapping him on the shoulder as he looks over and says, "You alright?" As he says, "Yeah, I'm good. You?" And she says, "Yeah, just been one of those days." As he just says, "Oh," and says, "Look, I've got to go into Catherine Halsey before she calls me again." As he walks off. And they get sent to a Insurrection hideout on Earth. Surprisingly, they've also made an alliance with the League of Villains. But the League of Villains are not going to have their buddies to back them up. As I'll kind of go into quite good detail here. How long have I got until I gotta go? I got plenty of time. Another hour at least. Anyway, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka go down with a gunship, well, not a gunship, a pelican, as they get dropped off at the edge of a forested area. Nowhere near the Wild Pussycats, but the Wild Pussycats are nearby as they see a pelican fly around them, and then land as they go to take a look. As they see two figures jump out. One with a chain belt machine gun, and obviously, they just see Uraraka and Deku. As they just watch to see what they do. As they walk off. Well, not walk off, just run. And they run fast. They're virtually like faster than Ida. But they're not faster than Ida when he puts on Reciprocal Burst, so not too overpowered. So when they reach the Insurrection compound, they do a bit of scouting. As the Wild Pussycats turn up, just obviously keeping their distance because there's two people with guns and their quirks do not help them out against against people with guns. As they then see them doing doing hand signs, as they then split off in two different directions, leaving a pair of binoculars behind for plot. Now the Wild Pussycats pick up the binoculars and see what's happening, as they also see that there are a lot of people with guns, tanks, pelicans. Basically, they look like a local insurrection force. The Wild Pussycats can't really tell anybody because they have no signal. Again, for plot reasons. As Deku and Uraraka go into the camp, Deku gets spotted and shot at, so everybody goes to try and kill him. As Uraraka plants bombs all over the facility, then starts shooting them from the back, as Deku pulls out his machine gun and starts firing. For a few hours at least, the gunfight continued, as eventually Uraraka sets off the bombs, which causes a huge explosion to happen, which rips the entire, camp apart, and basically causes a pelican to come over to pick him up at the same location, at the location that they were at when they got dropped off. And this is where they meet the Wild Pussycats. As they say, hold it villains, or hold it you two. As they both turn around, saying this is UNSC business, not yours. Do your hero things and catch people who break the law. We use their quirks. Leave the gunfights to the people who have guns. As they just walk off. As the Wild Pussycats eventually find a place to get a signal, as they call a fire department to stop the spread of a fire in the forest. Ta-da! And now we're to the USJ arc. And here's where it's most prevalent. Now that the League of Villains does not have its support coming, Shigaraki gathers as many villains as he can and gets ready for the USJ assault. Not really knowing what happened to the Insurrection force that was in the forest, but he got reports from Kirigiri that two unknown soldiers from the UNSC ran through a forest and found their friend's camp and completely annihilated it, which does piss off Shigaraki, saying, no, they were meant to help us kill all the heroes and All Might. Eventually they get back as the Nomu was ready, according to All for One and the Doctor. As the USJ arc happens, Aizawa says, well, those two aren't coming back for a while. As they go to the USJ, 13 tells them what's going on, and the portal happens. The portal appears, Bakugo sees it, as tons of villains walk out. Uraraka and Deku turn up at the USJ facility a good few hours after it happened. Well, when it happened. Like, when it happened, like, literally as it's still going on. I should have said still going on, sorry. As they both say, time for us to reveal ourselves. As Deku says, not in the flesh, as in our faces are revealed. As she says, I know. And walks up to the door. As a few more Spartans turn up, and this is Noble Team. As Carter sort of walks up to them and says, hey, looks like I only sent you guys as well to deal with this. As Carter says, just speaks to him casually. Kat, Yamil, George, and Juno and Noble 6 all just stand there waiting for orders. As Titan, aka Deku, says, alright, you lot, get ready, stack up. As Uraraka places a breaching charge, but Ida has already managed to get out and go and get backup from All Might, so they're still on their way. They're just going to find a few more friends. As the bomb goes off, blowing the door off of its hinges as it collapses. Outwards, not inwards. As the door collapses, 13 still gets injured. As all the villains see the doors get blown open, as quite a few individuals run in and jump to help Aizawa. Some go to help other students. One goes to help Izumi and Suyu as she goes headlong into the water to deal with the villains that try to attack her. As she just shocks the water, which does hit Izumi and Suyu, but not as badly because they jumped. They just got a small shock. As Rafe, because it's Rafe, gets out of the water and asks them, are they alright? As to say, yes, but who are you guys? Izumi noticing that it's ODSD armor, but the woman standing there is not of an ODSD standard. The same goes for Bakugo, because he sees these people run in and start going into combat. There are two people with chain guns, one person with a sniper rifle, one with a shotty, one with an assault rifle, and one with and two with pistols, just going around pistol whipping people and shooting them. Because Spartans are allowed to use lethal force. Like, whenever they need to use lethal force, they will use it. As the students who see this happening, a lot of them are freaked out and scarred because they just saw people die or get killed due to these very heavily armoured and armed individuals. Eventually, Deku, who strayed off a bit too far in front of George and the others, gets hit by an almighty force as he gets sent flying. As he ends up at the stairs next to Izumi and Suyu, because they actually got to the shore and Uraraka told them to get to the main entrance, as they did. And Deku's helmet came flying off, so they've seen his face. As Izumi says, still calls him, wait, well, actually says, wait, but big brother? As Suyu says, wait, this guy's your brother? And she says, yeah, he went missing like 15 years ago when I was still a baby. I can't. Well, I was actually starting to open my eyes back then. So I still do see him. I saw him for the first time as he was always helping around, always sticking with me. But then our parents got into an accident and he ended up vanishing. And she says, I don't like him talking to me as if he doesn't know me. I know he still does. I know he knows me. He's just being difficult. As he gets up, as Carter says, Spartan, your helmet's off, as everybody hears the word Spartan. As Deku just says, got it. I got it already. As he just says, ow, oh, that hurt. So the big guy wants to play it like that, huh? As everybody sees this giant bird thing with its brain exposed, screaming as Shigaraki says, Nomu, kill that guy. Kill these supposed Spartans. As Shigaraki watches the Nomu go to work, and the same thing happens in canon, where All Might turns up, but only when the Nomu was defeated, due to Umiel and Noble Six shooting it, smacking its brain. As Shigaraki says, damn it, they cheated. And she says, Kirigiri, get us out of here. As Shigaraki still gets shot in the arms and legs. As people sort of say, we heard that guy call you guys Spartans. Is that true? And that's where I'm leaving it off, guys. Bit of a cliffhanger, I know. And I added Izumi Midoriya in because, well, come on. What's a story without some twists and turns? I did think about this yesterday and decided, you know what? I only never really knows what happens, not unless they orchestrate something. So, yeah, Deku's parents are still alive. Still alive, and they've been searching for him. Izumi, his sister, was old enough to still get vague memories of him, but she remembers his face. And to her brother hasn't changed one bit. He's just got a really rough exterior and a attitude of a guy who's seen it all and been through it all. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe for more. This one's quite long, which is good because I always wanted to try and get a long video done. So hey, and if you like it, I will continue to do this. Ta-ta for now.